All right, are you ready? This is so fun that you're here. So we have Courtney Preiss here today. Welcome home, Caroline Kline. Nothing beats a good summer rom-com. This cover is gorgeous. And I love the, idea of, we get so many people that come in here that are like, I left the Jersey Shore and then I couldn't stay away. And so if you know, just like the cookies. So some people, even my brother who now lives in California, every time he's here, he's like, yeah, I get it. I get why people always come back. So this is a family story, a romance, a little bit of everything, about all the reasons for going home and what happens when you do. And so we're so happy that you're here today. So we'd love for you to talk about where the idea for the book came from, your process and journey to having a book. It's always so exciting when it's a really local person that knows what they're talking about. We've had some people that come in and say they're local, but they've never actually been here. It's been weird. So you're like a real true local. And we're really happy about it. So we'll ask you all sorts of questions like, where's your favorite pizza place? I'm just kidding. But you can tell us that if you want. But thanks for coming today, and we're very excited to hear about the book and about you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm like, okay, thank you. I was invited to coffee with an author, and I was like, this is such great programming, and I love the coffee here, and they do have the famous cookies here today. So if you guys have not had the cookies, I'm here to, I want to like hand sell books, but I think the priority is hand selling the cookies. And I'm just the opening act for Sully, so thank you for having him here, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And thank all of you for coming. It's really great to see you. I love this store, and I've been like such a fan and a reader before I was ever an author. I actually came here, I believe it was last summer, to see Carly Fortune speak, which was such an amazing event. And the vibes here are just perfect. So it's great to be here. My book, Welcome Home Caroline Kline, came out earlier this spring. It was an April release. But this is actually like low-key her time to shine. Like, she's definitely a summer book. It takes place during the summer. It takes place in Monmouth County. Large chunks of the story take place in Asbury Park. So it's a very local, festive story. As Kelly just mentioned, I am a true local. I grew up in Monmouth County. I grew up in Marlboro. And I did leave for a number of years. I went to school in Boston, and I lived in LA for a little while, and I lived in New York City for 10 years before moving back to the Jersey Shore in 2019, just before the pandemic, and I live here now. I live in Asbury Park. So I got the idea for this book because I was sort of on this precipice of deciding what I was going to do next with my life. The phrase that is not in the book at all, but like the book is really about this Saturn return moment, which has since become like a little bit of a cultural zeitgeisty thing. I never know how much I actually buy into astrological stuff, if at all, but I heard the concept of Saturn return, which is like a big change that you allegedly go through between the time that you're 29 and 30 years old, and then again 29 years later. Like, you keep having Saturn returns, and it's when Saturn returns to the position that it was in when you were born, which just happens, like the planets align every 29 years, and it's supposed to usher in this moment of great change. And so I was grappling with that moment in my life. I was preparing to leave New York City after living there for 10 years, and I was having a hard time coping with it because I'd so tethered my identity to, like, I'm a New Yorker, I'm gonna live in Brooklyn forever until I have enough money to move to the Upper West Side. And maybe I'll leave and go to LA for a little while because everyone's doing that, and I'll come back and die in New York City like Joan Didion did. So I like really had this idea about myself in my head that was being challenged, and while I was grappling with that and sort of like figuring out my move to Asbury Park and moving here and coming back, the concept of coming back home, I had this real incident that ended up inspiring the book, which was that my father and both of my brothers have played in a local men's softball league. My dad's played in it for the last 30 years, like since we moved to Marlboro when I was a kid. And when my brothers came of age, they joined the league with him. And so, shout out Marlboro, New Jersey. They have like a very robust men's softball league. And so I've grown up on the sidelines, like watching these men play. It's very animated. It's very interesting and entertaining. And my sister and I are both like very consummate baseball players. And we would joke all the time about like, what if we join the baseball team and we're not allowed because we're girls? It's men's only. So we just kind of like watch these men throw hissy fits, and we're like, we could play this better than they could, low-key. And I had this bizarre experience of going home and watching. I went home on a Sunday to watch my dad's game, but my dad was injured, so he was sitting on the sidelines with me. And I had this, surreal moment of watching his game with him. And I'm doing my usual, like, joking about, oh, I'm gonna tuck my hair up under my cap like Mulan and go take your spot at third base. And, I thought that could be a book. Like, I joke about that all the time, but I'm like, that could be a concept for a novel. And at the time, I was working on a nonfiction project about women in baseball that I kind of had like one foot in, one foot out. Like my heart wasn't really in it. But I have always loved baseball, and I am very compelled by the prospect of women being in this sport. I love the movie A League of Their Own. The book is like very much inspired by the vibes of A League of Their Own. That was my favorite movie growing up. So I ended up using that as this sort of catalyst in this novel. Caroline's dad takes a bad fall, and it's revealed that he's been having health problems that he's been keeping from the family, and her life has kind of blown up in New York City. She, left her job and gave up her apartment so she could move to Los Angeles with her boyfriend, and then on the eve of their move, he breaks up with her, and he's like, yeah, I don't want this. You can move to California, but not with me. So she kind of has like nothing going on, and the thing that brings her back home, which is really a mercy for her, is the fact that her dad is injured, takes this bad fall, asks her to come home, and when she gets to his hospital bedside, he's like, I don't want you to come home to be my caretaker. I want you to come home to lead my pack of insane men on the ball field to World Series glory. So that's sort of the origin story of the novel. There's obviously, again, that like baseball catalyst, but I'm confident that you don't need to love baseball to love the book. I like to tell everyone my agent hates baseball and she picked this book up out of the slush pile and wanted to represent it and ended up selling it to Penguin Random House. So I'm like, if she loves it, then I don't think you need to love baseball to love it. But if you do love baseball, there's definitely a little something extra in there for you. I know that Kelly had mentioned my process of, this becoming a book. It was a long process. I know a lot of authors probably say that. I had to, in order to get a book deal with like a big publisher, you have to have an agent. I was in my like early mid-20s, and I actually met somebody socially who wanted to be my agent. And at the time, I was only writing nonfiction. And I was like, this is so great. Usually when you try to get an agent, you have to go through this long, painful, drawn-out query process where you're writing unsolicited letters to agents and sending them samples of your work and asking them to represent you, so that in hopes that they sell your book to a big publisher. And I just thought that I got to like skip the line. I was like, this is great. I'm, however old I was, 27, I have an agent, we're gonna sell this book. The book did not sell. She ended up leaving the industry, not because my book didn't sell, but I'm sure that did not help. And I spent the next 5 years just kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And again, like I had this experience with my dad at home that sparked this idea. I started writing this fiction manuscript on the side. It's the first time I ever tried to write long form fiction. The pandemic happened while I was in the middle of writing this, and it became this kind of lifeline that I was just like clinging to something. Like every single day I would wake up at 6 and start writing. My husband, who is here, hi, thank you, he made the coffee, and I always say that this book never would have happened if he hadn't been making the coffee. And yeah, I worked on this every single day, 1,000 words at a time. There's an author named Jamie Attenberg who actually has a craft book called 1,000 Words. She does this writing challenge every summer for 2 weeks. She, has everybody sort of like use a hashtag and like sends out these newsletters, encouraging you to write 1,000 words a day toward a larger project. And I just did that. I wrote this 1,000 words at a time until it was done. And then I went about the long process of trying to find a new agent. And that took about a year. And I was that part of the process is tough. Like I know that like I've listened to so many like podcasts to hear like other authors talking about the process, because some of them kind of like are very rosy about it, or like maybe didn't have that hard a time finding an agent. But it's definitely tough out there. It's definitely very publishing is a very slow industry, so it's easy to get disheartened. There was like at some point I had to like write myself a letter to remind myself my life is still good even if I don't have an agent. And eventually I did end up signing with my agent. I got a few offers in the end, and I picked the agent that I have now, and she's wonderful. And she sold this book in a 2-book deal at auction to Penguin Random House. So it's a very like happy story, happy ending, but it was a very long process. I finished the first draft of this in July 2020, and I signed with my agent in September 2022 and sold it in December 2022, and it came out in April 2024. So it was like a 5-year long process from like writing it to it coming out.
Which is not as long as you'd think when you compare. Some people have it way worse.
Some people are like, they're like, I wrote this book for a decade.
Yeah.
So I just went to an event, and the author was talking about that she was like, I started writing this when I was 23, and now I'm 33 and it's coming out.
And sometimes the publisher, it takes a couple of years. Like that is sort of rushed, I think, I'd say.
They did. It was like not quite like expedited, but I had asked when we sold the book, because there is a baseball angle and because I work in marketing by day, I asked if it could come out in April to coincide with the opening of baseball season, which I think just like, from a sales perspective too, I think that it's a great book to read in the spring, but I think that it has like a nice summer vibe to it too. So it was already out when the summer hit, and I've certainly gotten a lot of nice messages from a lot of folks who have picked it up in the summer and brought it to the beach, and that was really my intention. So
When does your next book come out?
I do not know. I would love to be able to give you an answer. I'm working on my second book right now. So probably sometime in early 2026.
Okay. And is it different? Same characters?
It's different. It's not the same characters. It takes place in New York City instead of in New Jersey. There's a little bit of Jersey in there too. I like a tri-state area vibe. I think I'm always just going to try to write like funny tri-state area voicey characters, because that's what I'm passionate about. But yeah, it's also kind of like a spring summer book. It'll be a good book to throw in your beach tote as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Always a fun book. I love beach reads.
I love a beach read too. I was gonna say I on the flyer that you made, I was like, we'll talk about summer reads, and I'm like so curious to hear if you guys are willing to answer what everybody's reading. My ultimate summer read is for sale here it is Summer Sisters by Judy Blume. Have you read that one?
Yeah.
Heaven.
Yeah.
I read it every year. My best friend gave it to me when I was 14. She actually took me to the library and made me read the like dirty passages out loud in the library to try to get me in trouble. And then she was like, this book is so good though, you have to check it out and read it. And I read it every year. And it's about two best friends who go to Martha's Vineyard over the summer, and it like follows every summer of their lives for I think like 20 or 25 years. And it's just, Judy Blume wrote it, it's so special. Jenna picked it as her book club pick last summer, so it got a beautiful new cover. So it's always my favorite summer read. This year I read Sandwich by Catherine Newman, which takes place on Cape Cod, another great beach read.
Did you love that?
Poor Jen.
I loved it.
I didn't love it.
I
wanted to love it.
I love the voiciness of it. Like, I think that there's like a lot that I admire from like a craft perspective. She writes like such a tight novel, and I felt like there was this like immediacy. Like sometimes I have like trouble getting into a book because I'm not like immediately hooked, or it's like just wait until you're like 30 to 50 pages in, but I'm like, that's kind of an investment. And there was an immediacy with her voice. The themes are darker than I was anticipating, and that was a little tough, I will say. There's like a content warning for pregnancy loss, so if you're not up to reading that, save Sandwich for another summer for sure. But yeah, I really admire her. I'm like very curious to see like what she does next. Yeah.
What baseball team do you like?
I love the Yankees. I have Derek Jeter's number tattooed on my back.
We have to make sure before we
Thank you.
before we let this continue.
I love the Yankees. I went to school in Boston and would get into fights in the street. My husband is a Red Sox fan, which like is such, but that's like so hot though.
Take his cookie away.
Revoke the cookie. I love it though, because it's very like Montague Capulet, because like his like ancestors are Red Sox fans. Like he comes from like a deep like Red Sox lineage, and I come from a crazy Yankees lineage, and so I'm just like, I can't wait to like fight with him over like our kids' affiliations one day. It's gonna be so much fun and so heated. Yeah, I'm one of those people who like, I hate the Red Sox, and so I love the Red Sox because I'm like, I love to hate.
Right.
Love to hate a team. Love that like to feel I hate when the Red Sox are bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want the villains of my youth. I want the Red Sox to be good.
Just
so
so
that we
hate
can
them
like
more. Yeah.
feel good about beating them. And there's no better place on earth to watch a baseball game than Fenway Park. I've been escorted out by security.
Nice.
So I can say with confidence that I like know my way around Fenway Park, and there's just no better place to watch baseball. It's so beautiful. And I work in marketing as my day job. I'm a creative director at a marketing agency, and my clients for a long time were the New York Metropolitans, which is hilarious because I'm just like, who can even hate the Mets? It's like, I'm gonna like kick you when you're down. Like, who cares? Oh my God, they're awful. And I'm just like, when I was a kid, the Mets they had like a moment.
Yeah.
Subway Series era. And like, then I hated the Mets, but it's just like you grow up and you grow out of hating the Mets because you're like, that's just sad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bother hating it. Anyway, I'm a Yankees fan. That was a long answer to that question.
That's a good answer. It's already, you can't be mean to them. You can't be mean to the Mets. It's just mean at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's actually not fun though, I will tell you. I'm a very big hockey fan also. It's actually not fun to have your children not like your team. So you guys better plan well. Because it's not fun. Because when there's a game, there's been fist fights, and it's been...
Really?
Oh my God, yes.
I love this. Sorry, this is like very compelling to me.
There's been a lot of... We've had to watch playoff series in different parts of the house. It's been a thing.
Well, she has 3 boys.
I have 3
1 year
boys.
apart, one, and
2 of them like the Devils and 1 likes the Rangers, like me. So he gets an extra Christmas present every year.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
Wait,
a
this
thing.
is so, I hate that like whenever I hear a great story, just like this is my like medium baggage like in real life. It's like I hear somebody tell a story like this, and I'm like, how do you feel about writing an essay about like this is like an essay that I like want to read and pass on because I'm just like
It is not fun. There's been like, you know, I've had to take like they had these little mini hockey sticks that they used to play with when they were young. I had to like hide those during playoff games. I mean, it's been a thing. My mom was for years was like, I'm not coming to your house for the playoffs. No way. It was something.
Yeah, I can't
So
imagine.
plan well.
I can't imagine. My mother is here too. Hi. I can't imagine. Our house was so insane growing up during playoff season. I can't imagine if any of us were not Yankees fans.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have said it.
It's like letting the enemy in. I'm telling you, it is not fun.
Well, I made it. For a long time, I was just like, why should the kids get the husband's last name if I have to give birth to them? They should have my name. And then recently, I was like, our kids can have your last name, but they're going to be Yankees fans.
I like that.
I feel like that's like a fair trade. I'm like, the kids don't have my name, but they have my
The problem
affiliation.
is the kids like to disagree with the mom, so that's the problem. So you got to start working on
That
this.
is
You got to
very
start
true.
I don't even
planning
have
in
kids yet, and they already made my team. It's
You're already
such a
mad at
bummer.
them, and you're already mad at your kids that you don't have. I love it. Anyway, does anybody else have any questions I would like to ask that are?
I do. If you could read any book over again for the first time, what would it be?
Oh my god, that's such a good question. Okay, let me think. It's so tempting to say Summer Sisters, even though I just was talking about that. A book that I would love to read over. There's a book by Lori Moore called Self-Help, and it's a short story collection, and it is so funny and just like so sticks in your brain that I feel like I like rarely reread books. Like I know I just copped to like rereading the same book every year, but like that's actually rare. I don't often reread books, and I do find myself going back to Lori Moore's Self-Help a lot, and just like it's good every time, but like I so viscerally remember like reading that the first time and just like having it affect me that I think I'd give anything just for a minute to go back to that like summer that I was 19 and read that book for the first time. I also think that like books with twists, like do you read Rebecca Searle's books ever?
Yeah,
Yeah, dinner list in 5 years. Yeah,
Yeah, like in 5 years, and
dinner list.
the One Italian
Yeah,
Summer and Expiration Dates.
Yeah.
My mom and I always read her books, and they always have. She deals with she explores like fate versus free will in all of her books, and there's always like a big twist, and I can never predict what the twist is going to be. Like I am surprised. I know that like that's her, like shtick is that like she has a big twist in her books, and I never predict correctly what they're going to be. They always shock me. They always make me cry. And I'm just like in awe of her as a writer. So like I think that like any of the Rebecca Searle books, like when I find out that somebody hasn't read one of them, I'm so excited to recommend them because they're just so much fun to read. And I'm also a very slow reader, and I can read her books so fast. Like I cannot put them down.
Yeah.
I see the dinner list actually in the like behind, so that one is available here.
We did the dinner list for book club here, and we had everybody come with who they would invite. It was very nice. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Everyone's was so different. Yeah, it was fun. She's good. I like her
I
too.
love her too.
Yeah, she's
Thank
good.
you for that.
Do you want to ask? Jen is supposed to be at Cape Cod, so maybe you should tell her like your deepest, darkest secret or
Yeah,
something to
something
make
to
up
make
for
it
it.
fun.
I'm just kidding. I told her we'd make it extra fun, so maybe you can
Make it
sing to
extra
her.
fun.
And I'm just joking.
I'm sorry that you're not in Cape
I
Cod.
know.
I know, the hurricane.
The hurricane. So she's stuck
We
with
were only
us.
supposed to be there for a long weekend because my husband works at the hospital, so he was able to get like the weekend off.
Mm.
We were so excited. We had a beachfront resort. My kids were so excited.
Were you going to Chatham?
No, we're going to be in Falmouth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, but yeah, we
Okay.
had to cancel it, and
So we're just going to be extra nice to you.
you have
Yeah.
tequila, something.
I don't have to get. Do you want my cookie?
No.
You're gonna regret that because it's really good. I'm really sorry to hear that. I feel like I can't handle disappointment. I think that like nobody's good at handling disappointment, but then like something disappointing happens to me and I'm like, I'm really not good at this. So I'm sorry. I hope that like you're able to have a really beautiful weekend
Oh,
here.
yeah, we're going to Great Wolf Lodge. It's gonna be great.
Oh my gosh.
That sounds very relaxing.
My kids are water park enthusiasts, so
We're going to get coxsake instead.
Correct. Correct.
thinking the same exact
I have, it's so funny, I have like clinical obsessive compulsive disorder, like I have like I'm like afraid of germs, like I'm like afraid, I have like this contamination fear, it's clinical, and yet all summer I've been like, you know what sounds good? A water park.
I hate that.
My mom is cringing in the background. I'm like, I know, no, it goes against all logic that I'm just like, it's everything that I don't want to be in a bathing suit in front of other people, like I don't want to be
around, you got a wet crotch. It's
yeah, no, it's not good. Like nothing about it is good. And yet I'm like, why did they close Action Park? Like why can't it be me in that tube?
We're going to Maryland tomorrow, so hit me up. You can
They'll get you a
go to
cab.
the lazy river together.
I might come find you at Ye Old Great Wolf Lodge. I am sorry about that. I think that you should read Caroline Kline. I also see a lot of other good like beach summer escapee books. I will walk around this store with you and curate a stack for you if you're interested. To make this weekend better, you can pretend that you're somewhere else in a book. Have you read any of the Carly Fortune books?
All of them, and I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. Did you come to that event last year? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an angel.
She was great. Oh my gosh, yeah.
She's like so famous. I'm so happy for her. I really am.
Thank you. Well, if anyone wants to get their book signed or has any more other questions, but this has been so fun.
Thank you so much again for having me, and thank you everyone for coming. I'd love to sign your books. I brought stickers for you guys. It's the fake. I have
Oh.
stickers of the fake baseball team.
Stickers? Come on,
The
Jen.
fake
there's
mascot.
stickers.
It's a bagel. Riggers Bialys.
Give Jen 2 stickers, and I think that will make up for everything.
I will give you 2 stickers, and I will tell you that the bagel store is fake, but it's based on Bagel Talk on Route 79.
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
bagel
That's my
talk.
favorite.
I will
Except
drive-
the tuna.
So I will drive.
Oh, yeah.
They know that like we're having anyone over at the house. I'm like, we're gonna have a luncheon, and like they're like, you're just inviting people over so you can get up at 7 in the morning and drive to Bagel Talk.
I love
It's the
Bagel Talk.
greatest.
It's the best. It's the best.
My favorite local pizza, by the
Oh,
way.
I was gonna ask.
Growing up, it was Attilio's on Pond Road.
Oh, yes.
May it rest. I think maybe
They're
it's still there, but
they
it's not.
switched
called-
owners.
That's Amore now, right?
No, it's still Attilio.
It's still
But they
Attilio?
changed owners.
They changed owners. It doesn't
Yeah.
taste the same.
Different owner.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste the same, and the
It
chicken
doesn't.
parm sandwich is not the same. But that was my favorite growing up, and now I have to say, since I've been back in New Jersey, I have like, I'm like all in on Federici's
Yeah.
because my parents were not Federici's people growing up. So it was like when we were teenagers, we would go to Federici's, we would put the dressing on the pizza.
Yeah.
And now they have, I don't know what the deal is. I'm sorry if like anyone is like personal friends of the Federici's and I'm just like being a gossip, but like I think there's like bad blood because now there's several Federici's.
Well, there's the Frankie
There's one-
Feds.
There's Frankie Feds. There's the one in Belmar.
The one in Belmar. So we
Oh,
live near,
right,
so
yeah.
I live in Shark River Hills. I live in Shark River Hills, everyone. I don't really live in Asbury Park. I live in Shark River Hills and the Belmar one is very close to me.
Yeah.
And if I'm having a bad day, if I'm having a good day, like I just give him that look and he knows that I want Federici's. I want the house salad, extra dressing, so I can dip my pizza in
Oh, I'm
it.
getting hungry.
Um,
It's really good.
so it's, it's not freehold Federici's, but it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So like I think there's some kind of weird thing going
Write your
on.
next book.
I'll find
The
out.
the pizza battle, the great pizza battle.
I know people that know them. I'll
Pizza
find out.
Mafia.
Yeah, if you could get some intel and
I'll
we
get
could
back to
gossip
you.
about
That'd be
it.
great.
Frankie Feds on 33.
I know.
That's like the brother that was like cast out.
But I'm telling you, there's another brother that
There's a
is cast
Federici's in
out
Belmar.
because
I mean,
there's
if
one in
you're-
Belmar too, and it's not affiliated, but the dressing is the same.
Yeah. Well, there's always, if they're Italian, there's always a problem. Italians can't function without some sort of problem.
They really can't. I'm half Italian. My mom is full Italian, so I can confidently say,
Yeah,
um,
they like to have problems.
no, there has to be drama or it's not good.
Right.
And yeah, I love Federici's. I want to be like the poet laureate of Federici's. So that's a good place to end
That is.
before I get kicked out.
And no one's
back for
ever
saying
said that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Thank you
Thank
guys so
you.
much again.
Thanks, that was so fun.